Hello and welcome back. This video is about creating passive or web tree style UI in Unreal 5.4 Blueprints. And a special thanks to all my supporters. Thank you for helping me help others. Now, while the Grim Dawn style mastery tree didn't differ much from the Diablo 2 style tree, the passive or web tree, which you may have seen in World of Warcraft, Path of Exile, Sundered, Salt and Sanctuary, etc., can work quite differently. We'll start how we did with the others though. We'll create a new widget blueprint. We'll call this WBP web tree. And we can duplicate the button. Just take the mastery button. Call this web tree button. And in here, all we're going to do is go to our graph, our list of attributes. We don't need a prereq ID, and we do not need a min rank. We'll set the max level default to 1. We need to change our mastery tree coupled variable to web tree. And then we don't have this function right now, so we'll just leave that as is. And while the previous trees could have had lines in them, they were extremely basic, so they work differently than they would for this tree. For this tree, I created a simple white line with a transparent background diagonally like this here, and that will be used in our WBP web tree line. So in this one, we're just going to use an image. I'll just call this image. We want to make sure that's a variable. And we're going to take the tint under brush and just make it black. In the image here, we'll do the file I just imported. And it looks a little weird because it's not using width and height that are equals. That's fine, we can leave that as is. In our graph, we want to create a new variable called button IDs. This will be an integer array. And we'll just compile this so that we can just add 2 entries to that array, because it will always be 2 entries. Just set it the default as like no value. And then we'll build our web tree similarly to the previous 2. We're going to start with a canvas panel. Make sure that that is a variable. Going to drag in an image. Rename that to background. That's going to be the entire, hold down Control Shift. There we go, and then I can set the tint down pretty low, just so we don't blind people. And then we have our web tree buttons. I'll add one here. I'll make the size square, so it's 100 by 100. I'm going to hold Control Shift here, and it'll put in the center and the pivot in the center. So then I'm just going to duplicate this a number of times. Now, when you duplicate them like this, I'd like to select this one here and move it. But when I go to actually select and move it, it's just the one that was on top. So let's throw that out here. Throw 5 over here. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then I'll go through and update the IDs for everything. So that'll be 1, this one's, or 0 rather, this is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 5. For this one here, we'll just show a max level of 2, so it works a little differently than the rest. And then similarly, I'm going to drag in the line. So to make sure all this lines up, you also need to make sure that the line is using the center anchor. I'll also make that 100 by 100. Let's move this over manually a bit. Oops. So I can drag it easier. All right, so I did forget in our WebTree line button IDs should be instanced editable. And now we go here, and then it's there. So this one will be between 0 and 1. And then I will duplicate this a number of times. Put one down here. All right, for this one, this one, this one, and this one, we can then find the transform, which is down here under render transform, and we can set the angle for those ones as 90. There we go. And then I'll just update all the button IDs. So this one is 1 and 6. This will be 2 and 6. This one's 0 and 2. I'll just do it backwards, just so the logic is tested for that. This will be 0 and 4. 4 and 6. Oh no, 4 and 5. And then 5 and 3. And lastly, we're just going to take all the buttons that are not the center button and set them to not is enabled, which is disabled. Lastly, we'll just go into our first person character. So we want our web tree. And yes, you could have just changed either of these. Hit play, there we go, we have it. There's no functionality. And I realize I forgot my points. So I'm going to add a text entry. Call this points text. That will need to be a variable. That should also have a anchor of center. We'll size that to content, throw in our 99, move this down. Nice even number. And there we go. We'll finish up the functionality in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and would like to see more, you know what to do. And if you would like to support this channel, watch these videos 2 weeks early, or just want to download the project files, you can do so through my Patreon linked below.